it is right that the police will keep an open mind, as they have to do for any sort of major investigation. It is far too early to kind of speculate on the motives behind the attacks. And obviously, they'll be looking at the evidence linking the three different attacks to see what evidence there is to say that they are all connected, and obviously that the individual that's been arrested is the person that's committed all three attacks. The counter-terrorism side of the investigation is obviously a new development, and it is something that the police will do almost as a matter of course. They will be looking at the evidence. I'm confident that my colleagues in Nottinghamshire have already got a lot of information, a lot of evidence. There's a lot of eyewitnesses to the attacks. And the counter-terrorism side of the investigation will obviously sit alongside. And obviously, if the evidence does show it is counter-terrorism related, then our colleagues from sort of counter-terrorism will take over in due course. But it is right that they'll keep an open mind. They'll look at, obviously, the motive. They'll be looking at all the different potential hypotheses that may have obviously been the result of why this has happened and how they're all been connected.
This is such a curious case, of course, because it does have so many hallmarks of terror attacks that we have seen in the past, whether it's using a van or a vehicle as a sort of battering ram to mow down individuals, or indeed in parallel, the stabbings that have taken place, those 3 deaths that we learn are a result of stabbings in the streets of Nottingham as well. Both of those 2 different forms of attack do have the hallmarks of terror-related events that we have seen, not just in this country, but also in Europe, in mainland Europe recently. But then we get the timing of this attack, 4 in the morning. That raises eyebrows. That makes it a very curious case that perhaps is not immediately obviously terroristic.
That's what I would like to urge, in that the timing at 4 a.m. in the morning is not typical of a terrorist attack. Normally, they would look at high populated areas, sort of daytime, where they can attack more targets. Certainly from the information I've read around the vehicle attack, it's not evidently clear initially whether they are intended targets or whether the driver had lost control, was being chased by police or chased by other people, and what actually had occurred with the 3 people that were injured by the vehicle. So that's why I think, as I say, the police will keep an open mind. It's encouraging that the police have already conducted raids, because that is certainly something that I would advocate. They'll be looking at the person arrested, looking at who he's connected with, looking at associates, looking at family, and seeing who else may also be involved. I appreciate the police have said that they're not looking for anybody else, but there may be others that have assisted an offender or provided assistance in other ways. So they'll be looking at all sorts of investigative tools, from social media, from telephone data, trying to build up the biggest picture of the persons who's been arrested movements before the incident and obviously during the incident. And that's going to be key, and that's what they're going to be focusing on, as well as obviously obtaining as many eyewitnesses' accounts as possible.
I suppose it is significant that this is assumed to be a lone wolf attacker by the police. This is a pattern that we're seeing more and more regularly in both terror-related cases, but also just sort of common or garden crime, that individuals rather than syndicates, that lone wolf attackers rather than terror cells, if you like, are sort of the modern form of this kind of attack. I suppose that speaks to our security services being fairly good at cracking the more complex conspiracies that go on in this country, and sort of it's only down left to the lone wolf individuals to sort of slip through the net.
We have some of the best counter-terrorism officers in the world. They are constantly, every day, thwarting attacks throughout the UK and also worldwide, and they deserve high praise. And a lot of the incidents that they ever deal with will never become public knowledge. So they deserve a lot of praise, and they are some of the best officers. I think, like I say, it's very early to speculate on the motive. What will be looked at is the connection between the 3 deceased, you know, the 2, obviously, the male and female, and then the other male. What is the connection? Is it terror-related? Is it, someone with mental health issues? Is it drugs? Is it gang-related? So all of those sort of hypotheses will be being considered by the SIO and obviously the senior leadership team of Nottinghamshire Police. And obviously they just need a bit of time to sort of try and piece together, which I'm confident they probably know a lot of information and that they will be able to give that information in due course. But they seem to be doing a fantastic job at the moment. I know that you mentioned there's a lot of other forces involved, which is excellent. So there'll be a lot of cross-border work in there. But they will be working throughout the day, throughout the night, confidently trying to piece together as much evidence as possible to try and build a picture of exactly why this has happened.